are you doing, sir?
I am all hopped up on Mountain Dew. It's been like 6 weeks since I last talked Oathmark, so I am ready to fight.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to it. Wow. Yeah. As in my previous episode, IT issues, and we're back and we're recording. So, what's new for you, Michael?
Well, the campaign that we've talked about so lovingly on this very podcast continues to roll along quite nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't record the last game, but it was a fantastic game where I was on the defense with a garrison force against my friend Jim, not Jen, who was attacking with both a halfling captain and, of course, his lindworm. And we were successful in what was a very competitive wind and rain game, which elves tend to do very well in, but in this case, I got the better of them. So I felt pretty good about that. Of course, being on defense, and I got to tell you about the decisive cavalry charge that happened in the third act.
Okay.
So Jim has 5 elven cavalry, and they are quite good. They're fight 4, charge 3.
Yep. Ooh. Completely gone.
To out deploy him, and I matched up some goblin spearmen against his elven cavalry.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he took the bait and he went straight in at the spearmen on the flank. And of all the matchups on the board, this was probably the worst one, but it's still like hugely in his favor, right? So brace 1 for the goblin spearman means instead of hitting on 2s on the charge, he's hitting on 3s.
Okay.
This turn 3 charge. Well, that one was the difference maker because I think he rolled 2 1s and a 2.
Ooh.
And ended up taking out 2, yes, count them, 2 goblin spearmen. And then the goblins who had, the full complement of 20 spearmen, they needed, I think maybe it was a 7 because their fight 1, they had 3 ranks. That was a 4. They needed 8. Took out 2 elven cavalrymen in that same battle. Goblins pass morale, elves do not.
Oh dear.
Game, set, match pretty much after that. It was an unforced error by a less experienced player that I then turned into a huge advantage. So
yeah, no. That's some bad dice rolls as well.
It was terrible on his part. An ill-advised charge that he should have still won handily became an ill-advised charge that cost him the game.
Well, there you go. Overconfidence in elf cavalry. So,
well, they don't know any other way, sir.
That's true. That is true. So yeah, no, you've obviously had another game out since last episode on the YouTube channel War Corgi. So go and have a check out of that. So for me, we've been playing my campaign. I played on Thursday actually.
Very nice.
Yeah, I had mostly a human army. From the expanded campaign that I'm playing at the moment, and it did really well. We played one of the games out of Bane of Kings, the seat with the plinth in the middle. You have to be that one. Really good. It was a really good battle. It was right down to the end, last turn 6. But I killed a barrow.
Well done.
Yes, I charged it in the rear. So,
now that you bring that up, I did kill that lindworm that came along with the halfling captain. Again, just good dice rolls mostly.
Yeah, same maths. I was like, lots of good dice rolls. He got lots of bad ones, and but yeah, no, I was quite impressed. But he actually took along because we were attacking random neutral countries as well, and they get whatever we rolled up for them. And he had a barrow worm, and he also took a vampire who also had the barrow worm spell. So at one point there was 2 barrow worms on the table, and I was like, I hadn't thought of that. That's a bit dirty. Luckily he rolled a 1 and he rolled a 2 on its activation, and it disappeared. So
yeah, they can't just wander off on their own when you summon them, which I really enjoy.
Yes. But it was a bit terrifying. I was like, oh, like I just sort of thought, hold my nerve, don't bother about it, and just get on with it. And luckily, I got away with it. So, but yeah, I've been enjoying playing again, so that's good, and getting more bits and pieces painted up. So, which is always good.
Along that line, I did get an update from Chris. And remember all those human soldiers that
Oh
he ordered
yes.
from China?
Mm.
Turns out they're not human soldiers.
Okay, what other?
They're all halfling soldiers. They're about half the size of a normal 28 millimeter human model.
Okay, so you basically bought 15 mil.
Something along those lines, exactly.
Oh dear,
right.
oh dear.
I'm sure he's going to slap them on that 25 by 25 base and call it good. But
yeah. All
I
right.
imagine I'm just going to be able to roll over them because they're undersized,
Yeah, absolutely. Dear. The dangers of buying from China direct, I say. But there you go.
Who could have predicted it, Matt?
Yeah,
That,
no.
for $5, 200 models would come in and something would be awry.
Exactly.
No one saw this coming.
No one ever. And I'm talking about Chris. Chris and I, a long time ago, started talking about doing a new supplement for Oathwire, a fan-based. Yes, indeed, a fan-based version of that. So it seems that he's got some new time on it, got some time on his hands to be able to fit something in. So we're going to be working on that again. We've even come up with a name. So. Which is the Shadow. What we called it? Shadow Wars, I think. Yeah, something like yeah. So no, the Game of Shadows. Game of Shadows.
Seems a bit derivative, but okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we were supposed to play yesterday, but I had to cancel because we had a family party at my house instead. And so I think Chris took offense to that and went and got himself a part-time job for the weekend. So
that seems fair enough.
I thought it was a bit of an overreaction myself, but Chris is prone to overreacting to these little slights. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. So, but we're going to be talking about the supplement on the Oathwire Discord. So have a look on below here. You'll see that it's there. Come along, come and contribute, come and see what we're doing. We want everybody's input. It'd be great to see that. So we're going to add some beasts. We've got some ideas on what we're going to add in for strategies, for campaigns, and all that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, see what we're doing. Come and get joined in. So yeah. Okay, so we're going to move on into our subject for this evening. The subject we have covered, but it has been covered before. Micheal and Chris has covered it before, and it's the campaign side of the game. It's the narrative. So we're going to start at the beginning, on what the official rules bring to it, and we're going to take that along to. Micheal has developed his own set of rules for his campaigning system. I've done the same along with my gaming buddies, so we're going to talk about that and tell you why.
Well, Chris and I talked quite a bit, and I think it was like episode 1 or 3 about just what campaigns in general bring to Oathmark, and it's a lot of positive, right? Because there's a lot of tabletop games out there where there's no campaign system, so you just roll up to a table, you play somebody, maybe you played 100 times before, maybe it's your first time meeting. Both sides throw on a force, and there's no real rhyme or reason why the models they've chosen are on there other than gameplay reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's heroes on the board, but none of them are named. Well, the campaign encourages you to do all that fun stuff.
Yes.
And almost requires you in some cases when it comes to like heroic abilities and things like that to keep track of your heroes and how they do in battles, and even units as they gain battle honors. And it makes all those games a lot more meaningful. So you're not just rolling up to a table playing a game for 2 hours and then going home like nothing really happened except a good time had by all. Instead, you're going into the game thinking, well, if I win this could happen. And if I lose this, then I have to kind of do this in response. And I think Joseph McCall said it best. Most time that you spend on gaming isn't gaming. It's either thinking about the game, preparing for games, painting models.
Yeah.
Campaigns are that 100%. gives you something to think about before and after the game.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, for me, yeah, I've always been preferred to have that side of the system. I played back in the day in the 80s. You had BattleTech, and you played campaigns of that, and role-playing games. I think that obviously is just one massive campaign, isn't it? You play D&D, and so that kind of thing. I mean, even when I was playing historical stuff, we would do things. So we did a bit of an American War of Independence or American War of Revolution, whichever side you want to look from. We did that on there, and we did a Cold War version as well. So, and obviously Avalon Hill, the big board games was all about campaign, really, isn't it? It's that strategic overview. You have the battles as well as the tactical level, which is what we're doing when we're putting the miniatures on the table. So, yeah, no, it brings just so much more to your table. I don't know what it's like over in the US, obviously, but in the UK, you'll go to a club and they'll have club campaigns going on. So at the moment, we're playing a World War II. We're doing Arnhem, Operation Market Garden. We've got lots of people playing World War II using bolt action. And it's not a system I'm overly happy with, but because everybody's playing each other, we've got this map and things are happening. It makes more sense than just turning up and shooting at each other and walking off again. So
exactly right.
Yeah,
Over here in America, we're very good at starting campaigns. We're not as good at finishing campaigns.
Oh, right, okay.
That's probably a universal problem, but you guys probably do it a little bit better than we do.
I think we've probably we're probably lucky because we've got that whole club system over here. So like with this thing, it's like, right, we're going to play for 6 weeks because you get that fall off. So you get lots of people turn up. They play for 6 weeks. You get there's a good 40 odd games played between all the different players, and and it comes to conclusion. So it's quite a nice bit of being able to do that. So
yeah, I think you're just more well established over there and organized, and maybe it comes from living in a country that's 10,000 years old, where we've only been around since 1776, so we're still finding our footing over here when it comes to gaming.
That's fair enough.
So maybe that has something to do with it, but you're exactly right.
Yeah.
That I will say, the other thing that the campaign really brings into play is the kingdom building system, which absent of any rules on how to build army list, except for the kingdom building system, it almost cries out for campaign play. Otherwise, you just get some really crazy combinations out there, I think.
No, absolutely. I've played in some of the other games and pieces like that, and you end up with these ridiculous min-max lists where they turn up with 3 vehicles that during the whole of a particular campaign they were seen once, but every list has got it in, and everybody's running around and being this, that, and the other. And I like the limits that it puts on you. You're only allowed 4 units of each specific type. You've only got 10, and it gives that whole balancing game. And then to get the supplements, it gives you other things. So you think, well, I'm going to take that out, because I want phalanxes and I want this and I want that. And, so it's it's very way Joe's put it into all the books and run it through, and that nation building is just key to my love of this rule set, to be honest.
So I do want to go back for just a second. You mentioned that you do campaigns at your gaming clubs. I got to imagine that just really gets the conversation started as well. And if it's team campaigns, which I think is what you're describing here, just builds friendships or builds upon friendships, or maybe if you don't like it, somebody on the other side, just create more
tension.
Yeah, tension's a good word.
Yes.
So that's really cool as well. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things I found, the biggest thing I found actually joining in with club campaigns and having that side thing is actually I end up I keep finding people I haven't played before, Okay, so if you got new members and some well-established members, I'm like, well, I've never played. There's a couple of guys that's playing in this campaign that not played. I've never played a game. I've been a member of that club for like 8-9 years, and it's not because I don't like them. It's just they were playing something and I'm playing something else, and everybody gets in their little clicky groups, don't they? Me and there's a couple of guys there, and we sort of play away off from our own rule systems because we don't like that rule system, and blah blah. So it's really nice, and I end up playing people I don't normally play. So that's really nice. That sort of builds a club together, because then you can have, it's not like, oh hi, and then you walk off. It's like, oh, how are you? Yeah. So it builds up the club sort of. What's the word I'm looking? Not integrity, but just the camaraderie in the club. So that's really nice. And I get to play people that I have played before and I'm friends with. I played a guy a couple of weeks ago. Fantastic game, and I was going to win because of some silliness. Basically, he had to capture my officer. I was running him around. I went, you know what? I'm not going to do that, because this is going to be a very boring game if I win by me moving out of your range, how far you can rule it. We ended up doing running our officers at each other, because they were on the same side of the board, into combat to see who would win. And we had hysterics, and it was rolling dice down to the end of it, and it was brilliant. So I think it just builds this whole thing. But you're right. You might have somebody that you've got a bit of a grudge against, who you think maybe didn't, you're always losing against, and you want to really beat, or because there are those people, the guy that always rolls the 14 sixes when he needs 30.
I play him every other week here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you're just sitting there going, what's that about?
So I will say, you described like the optimum situation when you're playing a team campaign. Sometimes, especially with new players to groups, you have to be very careful that you don't let them feel pressured to win. And you can't have somebody in the same way in the campaign who is so focused on winning that he just intimidates or brings down his teammates. It's important that everyone who's playing in the campaign, either a 2-player campaign or a 10-player campaign, are there for the same reason. That's to have a good time. Play hard, play serious, but no one should be made to feel bad because they let their team down on a board game. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's a great way of introducing other people to the set of rules. And they might pick up some miniatures and get involved, especially if it's a popular game. Set of rules within the club, and majority of people play those rules. You can bring somebody that's not necessarily a historical player, or people get involved in all sorts of bits and pieces, and it's a good way to introduce them to the rules. Be kind, take them through the rules. It's not always about it. It's certainly in a club situation. You're not in a tournament. If you want to go and win in a tournament, crack on. Go to a brick and mortar's shop or whatever, and go and do your practice games there, but probably not at a club. So you can go and min-max all your stuff out. But it is a really good way, and it's just a pleasant way of playing a series of games. We're going to play 6 games over the 6 games each, and somebody's going to win. I mean, I'm the German general, and the Allied general is actually playing both a German and an Allied, depending on who can turn up or what day, and so he's playing. So he's flipping between. So that's kind of that's what it should be about. It's not about.
And unlike World War II actual, no one cares who wins or loses this thing.
No, exactly. No. Nobody's going to be marching people off to death camp. So that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So it's really. I think it's just it brings the best out of all of the wargaming, sort of that sort of thing. I think that's what for me anyway.
Well, I agree. I think people who are attracted to campaigns aren't the type to min-max their list. It's the type who like the story and such. So let's move on to the campaign that we get in the basic rulebook.
Yes. So, I mean, if you're new to this list, that's a list game. Even I've been talking lists. New to this game, and it's the first time you're listening to something. Basically, what we've got is we start off with the 10 zones in our kingdom, and we have to pick our what we want in there. And we got the mixed races, we got all the rest of it, and then basically you play a series of battles rolled up on the chart in the basic book, and you fight those battles, and you can capture your opponent's lands, but they doesn't stop them from using those lands. Just gives them a minus in their activation when you're putting them onto the table. So it means you can leave them out, and then you can also do a series of different battles. Basically, you've got the river, you've got your basic attack, sort of beating engagement, and then you've got something like Deep Strike, which is going for the capital. So there's all those bits and pieces going on.
I think you're mixing the scenario types with the battle types there. So
okay.
Yeah, like Deep Strike, it's a really interesting system. Well, let's start with what I like about it. Like you said, you get your 10 territories, so you have your kingdom, and it's designed that you're gonna play a long campaign against one other player. It's a 2-player campaign system. Can't do 3, can't do 4. It's 2. As you roll off to see who's going to be the attacker on any given mission, and for the most part, the attacker is going to be the one to gain ground, although the defender could recapture territories that they lost their own kingdom in a number of these battle types. The attacker has the most to gain, and the defender's going to have the most to lose. So, as it's a roll-off, it's possible that one player could win 5 in a row.
Yes.
But statistically speaking, it's going to be about 50-50 over the long haul. And since this isn't a 3-game campaign, that means you might take it a little bit on the front end, but you're going to get back on the second half, hopefully, if statistics hold true.
Yes.
So that's pretty cool. Now, the only thing about the roll-off is, as a person who rolls higher is the attacker, well, the higher the die roll in general, the less impactful the mission is.
Yes.
With a 10 being a punitive strike, which only lets you capture an opponent's territory for 1 turn, then you have to give it up.
Yeah.
So it's all geared towards less meaningful battles, with maybe 1 in 20 being something really, like you said, Deep Strike, where you're really looking to have the opportunity. It's not even a given. The opportunity to do some real damage.
Yeah.
So theoretically, Oathmark campaign could end in 2 turns.
It could, yeah.
If someone, rolled lucky enough to get the Deep Strike, and then the next turn they had the invasion mission where they could take the capital. But that's highly unlikely. It's more likely that you're going to be playing forever, which might be a drawback for a lot of people.
Yeah, and that's the key to that, isn't it? Is you could end up playing 40 battles and never get anywhere near the capital, or you get one play, and one player's got there and then lose, and then you play another 10 battles and there's nothing again. So it doesn't have that cutoff. It doesn't. There's no cutoff in there. It's play it as long as you want to play it.
Not only is there no cutoff, there's no snowball effect, right?
No.
You could win 3 games and you don't have a decisive advantage over your opponent at all.
No, definitely not. I mean, I've played lots of campaigns in different gaming systems, and I've always found you get to that tipping point, don't you?
Normally,
there's that inevitable tipping point, and you can see it coming. And it's like, well, as soon as that one person gets there, you'll see everybody else starting to drop out of the campaign because they can see they're not going to win. And then, it's just every time somebody does play that person, depending on what it brings to the party, it's just not going to happen. You're not
And
going to
I
win.
will say, you might not finish the campaign, but at least you know who won in those circumstances.
Yeah, no, absolutely, you do. Yeah, you do. Because you can see it. I've played a few games like that, and you're like, oh, that's quite annoying. And especially if there's something in there about dice, and somebody gets a lucky dice roll and gets the most money or something all of a sudden. It's like when they're running away with it. It's not what I want to see. So that can be a disadvantage. That somebody that picks it up and says, "Well, I want to play this as a campaign." I'm going to play my friend Micheal, and we're just going to crack on through this. You have got the military expeditions that are in the supplements, so you can go and do those as side events, and that brings something else because you get your unique territories as well, don't you? So from those, so you can go off and do that, and that sort of, if you play through the book, you can get some conclusions there. So but that's not a finish of a campaign. It's more of a side mission, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't know necessarily if it's the fact that it takes so long to finish, or because I've never finished one of the book campaigns, or if it's you just don't feel like you're progressing either way.
Yeah.
I think the most anybody's ever been up in one of the campaigns that I've been in from the core rulebook is like one territory.
All right.
Like you control one territory on your opponent's outer edge, and that is the biggest advantage you're going to have for the entire campaign. It's just because there's so many opportunities to win that back. There's so many opportunities to close the gap. It was a lack of progress, I would say, on either side that kind of waned our interest. Now, if you're the type of gamer who just loves the idea of forever campaigns and the idea of two kingdoms duking it out until the end of the times, this works well for you, because chances are that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. So it kind of leads us there into the situation that we both found ourselves in. It's like you said, we've been playing Oathwire for a while. We're like, okay, we love this game, and it's great for turn up. We can have these, we can sort of blink away, but there's no sight at the, there's no end to it. We're not sure where that's going to kill. Or we can just turn up and not have a campaign, not have that narrative. Don't just play one-off games and keep switching the armies around. But you and I have come to the same conclusion, and I know that there's other listeners out there that have done the same. Off the top of my head, Ilford Club, who I've been down to play, I know they're doing something similar. They've got a map system, but that's where we've come to. How do we develop our campaign rules, the campaign rules given to us, and take that forward into something that we can see a conclusion, to see that maybe that we can have more than one person playing in that, etc., etc.
So that was the driving force that started me on designing my own campaign for Oathmark. Was I could run a campaign against Chris, and I could be in a simultaneous campaign against Jim. But it would be a whole lot more fun if all three of us played in the same campaign.
Yes.
And so that's what drove me to make my own campaign system. And as a longtime gamer, I know the best campaign system is a map campaign system.
Absolutely.
Especially when it comes to 3 players, because you can design a map where no one has an advantage and you're all meeting in the middle, and it's hard to gang up on anybody. And so that's what I did. And so took that opportunity to come up with some campaign rules which allow you to do things off of the tabletop that affect the campaign map, but don't do a whole lot to change the dynamic of Oathmark, which you said is a game that we really enjoy. Because I think that can be a real danger for people making campaigns, is that you totally change up the dynamic of what gets put on the board, on the table to play with. And so that was one thing I was careful not to do in this campaign system.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We funny enough, we started a similar thing. There was 4 of us that wanted to start playing, but that went down to 3. So we started again. But again, it's a map. We started in corners of an island, sort of advancing, trying to capture some territory in the middle, and you gain extra resources and you can gain extra territories. So you can do bits and pieces around that, and it brings it in, and nobody gets a massive bonus from having more territories than the other. So if there's two people having a fight, especially if you're having a triangle of people, you might find that two people keep fighting each other because they both want that same piece of territory, whereas the other guy's walking around going, I'm going to nick all this territory. So the amount of territory you hold isn't necessarily in our game important. You can move things around, like what units you can have, but we limit that as well. So you can only ever have 16 territories providing troops for your army. And then you get other bits and pieces, build roads, and you can do all that. The stuff you expect from a board game, a map game, nothing that's going to like make your armies. We play 3,000 points.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing that can make you have a 4,000 point army and the other person have a 3,000 point army, unless they break their armies up into small units and put their armies out too small, which is something we do. We also give replacements. They have to have it up. Each army is set, so we've written all our armies out. So that's what you're fighting with. We can put replacements in and all sorts of like that. You can change it, but you're only allowed to exchange a certain amount of points every turn, game turn, campaign turn. So you can't just go, oh, I've now got all this territory. It's all much better than the ones I wanted. Now I'm going to have everything else like this. So
that sounds like a highly detailed campaign system. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, it very is. It very much is. We've got it on quite a lot of. We've got it. I think there's about 5 or 6 pages on Word we've brought in, and obviously we've moved in items from like Bane of Kings and the heroic, with all that sort of stuff. We've set limits. It's like you're allowed a dragon, but only one army's allowed dragons. Okay, so you can't have every single army having a dragon. So there's only one dragon. So there's all sorts of things going on to sort of like limit. So again, you don't get these uber armies, and we do turning up and there's 4 heavy catapults. Nobody wants to play that game, do they? So,
no, not even once.
No. So we've sat there and thought about it. And we've written it down. We've got it down. As we've played through it and we're moving through turns, we've actually developed it and gone, actually, that doesn't work so much. That's bringing too much power to one player, or that's not working, or because we were letting somebody tear down the territories and rebuild them up as something else. And then we could see that was going to get mini-maxi. So we said, well, we can't do that now. It's whatever's in that territory. We randomly rolled up a whole map, what territories, that's what you capture. So
I do find that you have to be humble as a campaign designer, because you're essentially play testing the rules that you're making in real time.
Absolutely.
Right. And so you have to allow yourself the ability to refine those rules. And from a personal perspective, when I do make campaign rules, I lay out everything. I put on some sort of PDF. The players will look at it, give me feedback. But if something unexpected happens during the campaign, we try to talk about it. But if we can't agree, since I made the rules, I actually defer to the other players, because I already had my chance to make it right the first time. I think it's only fair for them to figure out how to move forward when we're at an impasse. So just because it is your baby, you might feel that sense of, I'm not going to let anybody else tell me what direction it should go in. It'd probably be the exact opposite.
It may be your ball for start-offs, but you've turned up to a team game. So, pass it around, especially, I mean, from it's, guys I'm playing, there's one guy, he's he's a bit older than I am. Sorry, Martin. But he's had a lot of
this, and I can't.
He's had a lot of more experience than me, DMing for years and years and running worlds and stuff like that. I can't remember what role-playing game and he's got his experience of running a fantasy world, so he brings a lot of things like, oh, we should do that. So that's been really great, and he's that brought ideas in that I wouldn't have thought about. And then I've got a new, my the other chap that's playing, Mick, he's brought he used to play, and he'd come back after a good 20, 25 years gap in there, so he's kind of new to it, but not. But he's got his, he's got his input, and he's come up with some really good ideas. And it's like, oh yeah, that's a really good idea. But that's what it should be about. You're playing a game that you all want to play, and all enjoy, and and have people come around your house and play in your playroom. Get your games room, and enjoy those people's company, and enjoy the game you're playing. Okay, it'd be nice to win, but that's not what's important. It's not the fact that I've set these rules up, campaign rules up, so actually I know the real intricacies and little bits in here that means I'm gonna win, because that suck.
So for sure, I like the collaborative approach, but if you are the person who wrote the rules and are essentially organizing the campaign, it's okay to say no as well.
Yeah,
because you'll get some really off the wall ideas, mostly from Chris.
Okay.
About, and they're really interesting, but it doesn't fit with the actual campaign vision. Not vision,
Okay.
that's not the right word. Just the campaign feel.
Right.
So it is okay to say no,
Okay.
or maybe next time.
Okay.
But when possible, you should always incorporate the ideas from your players,
Yes.
as long as it's not going to ruin the whole feel or the mechanics of the campaign.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah, if you've got a Chris, you may want to.
Well, he wanted to have gold coins to, he has to pay each individual soldier. It was crazy.
Wow,
with
that's detail.
And tax systems. I just have to say no, Chris. I'm sorry, we're not going to do that. Instead, we went with a 3 resource system.
Okay.
Because the little map that I have is out of another game called Rune Wars, and it has trees on it, and it has mines on it, and it has food on it. So 3 resource campaign it is. And we just made each of those, have different advantages for whoever controls the most.
Okay.
And in retrospect, I think it would have been fun to have a little bit more complicated system where, if you had 7 food, you could do this. You could move an army for 4, and then you could attack for 3 or something like that. But instead, we kept it even more simple than that, and that was whoever has the most food gets to take the most actions. Right, whoever has the most mines gets a little bit of a point boost. And I tried to keep it consistent with what Mr. McCullough has throughout his rule book. So 2%, that's, you could take a territory and get a 2% boost if you're being led by a wizard as your hero character.
Okay.
And then the last one was trees. And trees allowed you a special bonus or 2, depending on how many trees you have, who has the most. Okay. And all the special bonuses I made were pulled right out of those unique territories that you can get by playing the linked games, which I always forget what they're called, but you referenced earlier. Come on, the battles that you do, it's a 3-game battle. You get unique territories at the end. You just mentioned it.
I probably did, and I completely forgot as well.
It's not scenarios. Oh my goodness. Each one of the expansion books has them.
Oh, military expeditions.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sorry, yes.
Yeah, so all those bonuses mirror what you could get from a unique territory from a military expedition.
Yes.
And, they change every round. So we kept it simple like that. But the fact that you can do resources in any campaign you create, we don't have resources in the core rule book, but it does open up a lot of possibilities.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, we've done we haven't. Each territory brings, depending on what you capture, it's got resources in it. So you get, if it's got a river or it's got a wood, and it gives you a certain amount of points. There's ports there, and you can do things like that, and so you get a certain amount of spend points for the territories you're holding, and depending on, so you can make strategic choices about where you're going to attack to go and which territories you want to capture, so you can maybe boost those points. As you're never going to get away from the other person, because just there's only so many points territories, but you can push it one way or the other. And now, with those points, you can build a road, so that can speed up an army if you want it to come from the north because somebody's attacking the south, because we got campaign moves that can speed up your army to do that. You need, if you want to replace any losses in the battle that you've just fought, you have resource points for that as well. See, so we've done that. So if you have a 3,000 point army, the one I played on Thursday, I lost 450 points or so. I have to replace that, okay, to take my army back up to 3,000 points, which is our maximum size army. So I have to make sure I'm shunting that into there. So we're quite fair. We always make sure that if we can see that the other person can't win, we stop. We don't just go into I'm going to ride you into the ground game so that I can hurt you, because nobody wants to play that game either. But so you're getting resources. You can put that into building a new level port. We've got sea travel, bits and pieces like that, but nothing complicated. It's all on a simple spreadsheet. It's just like, I've got 3 ports. I've got this. I've got that. I've got this, and that. I mean, it basically gives you that, and it gives you a bonus. So the other thing we've done though is you get points in playing in a battle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we get victory points, and in victory points, which is where but statistics say that it shouldn't happen too often, where that player can build up their victory points to build a new army.
Okay.
At the moment, we started with 5 armies, so you're allowed 15,000 points of troops on the map. But when you get to 1,500, when you get to 12 victory points, you can build another 1,500 point army, and you can save on to them. So when you get up to a certain point, you can then make it a 3,000 point army. So you get another new army on the map. So you can try and expand a little bit more. And you get victory points whether you lose or win as well. So you get half. If you're in a battle, you get 3, and lose. If you win, you get 6.
Mm-hmm.
So that sort of brings that new donut, because our map's quite big. We probably made it a bit too big, so we realised that with 5 armies each, it's going to take us about 3 years to play anyway. So we thought we'd expand it out a bit. And that's where we where we developed it a bit. Yeah.
Interesting. So we started out with a campaign map. I'd say it's probably medium sized, but we started with a bunch of unoccupied territories.
Yeah.
So Jim and Chris decided to move into those unoccupied territories unopposed, while I decided to attack both of them that first round. But I'm looking at my map right now. There's still a number of unoccupied territories.
Okay.
It's that balance between either having to use one of our what we call named armies, and we have 3 of them per side, to defend territory you already control or to attack your opponent. It doesn't leave a lot of room for just going out and grabbing those neutral territories, but the option is there.
Yeah.
If you're feeling like you need to.
Yeah. Well, we've got we were playing ours on Roll20, so I did a map on Incarnate and all that sort of stuff, and so but we've got that. But what because we randomly rolled up every single territory that's on the map to have a resource. In fact, there's quite a lot of undead for some reason. We put a number. Everything had the same amount of numbers. Apart from some of the special territories, we put them as if you rolled over 80, I think it was. Anyway.
Well, there's cemeteries everywhere. And
yeah.
Necromancer
I know. But so
places them up.
But there's some areas that have only got, there's like 1 or 2. There's like a Fletcher's. There's only 1 Fletcher's, and so there's some bits territories we can't get. Both of us can't get to, but I know we're both going to end up heading towards. So the inevitability on our 2-player game is going to happen, and on our 3-player game, exactly the same. We've all been punching up over the dwarf. There's a silver mine and a forge, and all 3 of us have been having this punch up in there, trying to take it off one, so I can have it, and vice versa. So yeah, it's been quite good. And there are other territories that aren't, that just sort of sitting around not being occupied as well. So we're trying to punch up for this because they're the ones that we want. Or Martin's actually captured quite a few of the wizard towers and stuff like that, and the hermitages that were put on there. We want to take that. We want to try and capture them because he uses them in his army quite effectively. With
He's got a whole conclave supporting him. Huh?
You like play 4 bloody wizards, and you're like, what the hell's this? You're from level 1 to level 5. He's got, you're like, okay.
Well, I think the thing about campaigns is we could talk about them forever, but we should probably move on. But I'd love to hear other people's thoughts on this on Facebook or Discord, because campaigns are so unique to the people making them and playing them that there's a ton of good ideas out there in this community. And
no, absolutely.
Not above stealing any of them.
No. And actually, what I should do is I will I'm going to post this up in the our rules up in the Oathwire Discord and on the Oathmark Discord pages for people to go and have a look at and comment and pull apart.
Mine are already there.
There you go. I will find the link because I think I can do clever things like that on the links from Discord, and people go and have a look at that. So go and have a look and let us know what you think, guys. It'd be interesting to know.
All right.
I've got a question. I made people obviously know you as War Corgi.
Yes.
Yesterday I found out Queen Elizabeth II bred a new breed of dog called a Dorgie, which is a Dachshund and a Corgi.
Okay.
The Queen came up with that breed, so I want to know what breed of dog would you come up with? What would you cross with a Corgi?
So a quick little aside:
yes.
The breeder that I got my 2 corgis from also breeded what we would call dachshunds here, or dachshund, dachshunden. And their motto was "Get along, little doggy," which I thought was brilliant, because that, certain interplay with words in the American Old West. Are you familiar with the 2 types of corgis, Matt?
I'm not.
Oh, there's 2 types of corgis. So you have what I have, Pembroke Welsh Corgi.
Okay. Yeah.
Who, while a herding dog, a little less of a herding dog than their cousins, the Cardigan Welsh Corgis.
Okay.
You can tell the difference because a Cardigan generally will still have its tail, where the Pembrokes either naturally or sometimes they will be cropped, won't have a tail.
Ah, okay.
But they're both long dogs. They both herd, and they're both really good.
Okay.
So I have Pembrokes. Cardigans are interesting. They're less of a house dog. So Queen Elizabeth had Pembroke Welsh Corgis.
Okay.
Because if you're going to have Cardigans, you really want them on the farm working, probably.
Okay.
I think, the Corgi breed is so good because, number 1, they're super smart. Number 2, they're incredibly agile.
Yes.
Number 3, they look great on any sort of YouTube video.
I agree.
It's hard for me to say like what other, what I could add to a Corgi.
Well, what could you add to another animal?
I was gonna say, let's do this. So if I'm in the mythical realm of the Marches, and I have corgis who traditionally in Welsh folklore were the steeds for the fairies as they ran through the forest. That's a true story as well.
There you go. I didn't know that. There you go.
I would stick with that. So we're gonna start with the corgi, and then I think what we're gonna need to go ahead and add to it, because this would make them really good cavalry and really good at hurting things, is a barghest. You breed a corgi and a barghest. Now instead of like some scary lion/hound that just zips in and out places, now it's like a super intelligent but slightly smaller thing with discorporate.
Yeah.
That could, transfer ferries all over the place, assuming that the ferries are strapped in, because I could see the corgi discorporating and the ferry just still being there. Figure out some sort of special magical saddle will allow the ferries to discorporate with the corgis. But then the corgi / Barghest could be like charging onto the orc's flanks from like out of nowhere. And I'm not sure they're going to do any damage even against the flanks, because it's a corgi that can discorporate with a little fairy on top with a small butter knife. But assuming that they can, if nothing else, they're going to surprise them.
Well, they could annoy the hell out of the mages at the back of the line that are always hiding out the back, and put them off.
Like the older ones, especially the dwarven ones, who don't have strong hearts to begin with because they're so old. Just having 10 fairy riding Barghest corgis on right in front of them. That's gonna maybe induce a heart attack, which is as close as a win as you're going to get for this particular cavalry force.
I think that sounds like a brilliant idea. If somebody could digitally sculpt some fairies on Barghest / corgis, that would be great. And put the STLs out on the Discord, that would be fantastic.
I'll have to show you some artwork, because this is like a real thing.
Oh, right.
Fairy riding corgis.
Okay, I need to. Yes, that I do need to see that now.
It shall be done.
Excellent, my friend. Thank you for coming on this evening. Thank you for sparing me the time, as always. It's been great talking to you, and I would like to say good night to you, sir.
And good morning to you over there in Englandshire. And you're not going to sleep tonight, because the phone's going to be ding, 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 ding with pictures of fairies riding corgis for the next 5 hours. So
sounds good to me, my friend. Okay,
brace yourself.
My phone is luckily on sleep now. Okay, guys, thank you for listening, and I'd like to say good night, good afternoon, and good morning wherever you are.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.